me as always, Miss Di Marie. Di, what's going on?
Hi guys, I'm happy to be back. So unfortunately, Sith can't be with us today, so it'll just be Rob and I.
Yeah, Sith is not feeling very well, but she will be back for the next episode. So if you guys are Sith fans, um, this is not a Sith episode. Um, so
Send her some love.
yeah, send her some love, and I don't know. I guess you could call it. If this was Family Guy, this is the Meg episode. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about this week. First of all, we just want to thank you for your continued love and support when it comes to the show. Of course, us being new at Comic Book Movie, we got a lot of really good good responses from you guys. Continue to leave stuff in the comments. Be kind. We are new, so when it comes to audio and stuff, we're just really kind of getting our footing and whatnot. But we try to bring you the best show that we possibly can. So thank you guys, for letting us be part of the Comic Book Movie family. And we'll just continue to bring the geek fire when it comes to news every week. So with that, we're going to start off with Top Jedi, which is our top of the show. What do you have this week in terms of news? There was a lot of stuff. So
there's a lot. So first, I'd like to bring up that after a year, The Witcher finally finished up production last Friday. So if you guys didn't see the video, Netflix dropped a 90-second clip where it showed the cast and crew on production. Of course, fully face masked, lots of sanitizer. We got to see a lot of the new characters in their new costumes and old characters. So we don't have a release date as of yet, but we do know that it's coming soon.
Yeah, I was watching the video, and it seems like the most interesting thing about that is they kind of cracked the code when it comes to like how to film during the pandemic. I mean, they had like 1,200 on the crew, according to the showrunner, and nobody got sick. And they had a little bit of a slow crawl when it came to the beginning of the pandemic. I guess they had to shut down production due to restrictions and whatnot. Just like it was Zack Snyder's week last week. For the most part, we'll get into that in a second. But the man of the hour seems to be Adam Wingard, the director of Godzilla versus Kong, and it's doing really well at the box office, and it's really like bringing some exponential numbers when it comes to box office as well, which is something we haven't heard in the past year or so. Usually like when something's a hit, it would be like 3 million or something like that because nobody was going to the movies. So it seems like people are going back to theater in droves, and like if you guys are renting out theaters or or amongst people, like in what I would call a church, because that's kind of what, the theatrical experience is for me. Just be safe when you're doing it. But, like Di and I are both horror alum. And we remember Adam Wingard, doing like independent films like You're Next, with my friend Barbara Crampton, and, things of that nature. The Guest is an amazing movie. And when people were saying like, maybe you use a little too much neon, in Godzilla versus Kong, watch The Guest, because there's a Halloween scene where Micah Monroe is it was kind of like a Manchurian Candidate movie, where this really handsome guy comes to this family and tells him that he's a veteran and he used to be a friend of their son who got killed in combat, and it's a great movie. But this is the kind of stuff that Adam Wingard was doing. He's doing really small stuff, and now he's doing stuff like Godzilla versus Kong, and now slated to direct a Thundercats movie, which is incredible, because I know that's something that fans have been wanting for years. That's a cartoon that I grew up on, and I'm just really excited for it. Anything that brings your youth back, I'm totally fine with. It keeps you young, and I'm just really excited to see what he does with it. Seeing Mumra for the first time on the big screen would be amazing, because Mumra was definitely one of my favorite villains growing up as a kid. And I think there's a beautiful dynamic that you can do there. Obviously there's no casting news. It's, too early to say. But, congratulations, Adam, man. Like, he's just coming up in the ranks more and more each time. And, we're big supporters of people who, do what they want to do and they're passionate about their work. And, they just, they don't get everything that they want the first time around. They actually have to work for it. You have to climb up the ladder, just like us with this show. You know what I mean? And it's just awesome to see him doing what he's doing. What's next in Top Jedi this week?
So Last of Us finally has a production date for the HBO series. They're going to start filming July 5th, and then they'll be ending the shoot on June 8th of 2022. So it's going to be a long one. What's interesting about this is with Pedro Pascal, who of course is going to be playing Joel, this is going to be his priority role. So,
which, by the way, while we're filming, as we're filming this right now, happy birthday, Brown Eyes! It's Pedro Pascal's birthday today, so that's cool.
Yeah. But I'm just interested to see how this is going to tie in with what's going to happen with the Mandalorian, because we're not getting Mandalorian at the end of this year. We're getting Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I think the thing is, we were talking about this in earlier conversations where, this is going to film until 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I think immediately after this, maybe they'll give him a month break or whatever. This dude's a workhorse, obviously, because he's going to do this big production where he has to run around and be Joel. And then all of a sudden he's got to go and play Mando. It's just crazy. Absolutely insane. But I think that scheduling works. Big question is, will there be a new season of The Mandalorian? That's a bigger question. There's so many loose and broken ends, when it comes to that series and stuff. We just don't know, what's going to come of it. And it doesn't seem like anybody's really talking about it. Everything's really hush hush. You would think that they would, throw out some little, nibbles here and there and stuff, especially the cast and whatnot. Nobody's talking. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with that. So in other top Jedi news, the Justice League came out last week, of course, and there's two different, ideas when it comes to the success of, what Zach was able to bring to the table when it comes to HBO Max. There's people that say that there was a 64% increase with HBO Max subscriptions, which equals about 3 million new subscribers, just for Justice League. Then there's other people that kind of want to take them down. And there's other, television programmers, I guess, that are, basically stating that supposedly Justice League was a failure and, a certain amount of people watched it, but they didn't end up finishing it. And, Forbes, kind of, dug their heels into their hatred too. And they were like, well, technically, if he actually, made money, box office wise, they gave him $70 million to finish the movie, but he only acquired maybe 22 million at the box office for the movie. It just seems like everybody's trying to knock this guy down. And I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand why all the hatred. I don't understand it. But, we're big supporters here. And, to kind of, actually, there's two things when it comes to The Rock. So The Rock announced that there's going to be a new release date for Black Adam. I'm excited for that simply because, for years we were told by The Rock himself, this is going to happen. It's totally going to happen. It's totally going to happen. Then the pandemic happened. And then he just, oh man, I mean, aside from the muscles that he already has, pulls this huge flex and takes over Times Square to announce the new date for Black Adam. But according to rumor and myth, The Rock is actually, he's vying for the Snyderverse. He's actually fighting for it, supposedly. And, with the power that he has, within in the industry, a lot of people think that if he was going to, want the Justice League within his Black Adam, movie or sequels or whatever, that he would be able to make that work. So, who knows? I just hate all this hatred, when it comes to the film that we thought was great, obviously, and just the absolute just sheer hatred that that Zach gets as a filmmaker.
Right. Yeah.
It makes no sense. It just seems like he's got a big following, and if you love him, you're toxic immediately. You're a toxic person. You know what I mean? You're a horrible person. You're a horrible fan. You're a definition of what a fan shouldn't be, and all this other stuff. And that's BS. It's total BS.
Yes.
And then the people that hate Zach are, they're fine. They're just, they're film fanatics. They're cinephiles, and he doesn't, cater to their Scorsese loving palate or whatever. You know what I mean? And they think it's all just a carnival ride or whatever. Scorsese said in that interview a year ago. When it comes to superhero films and stuff, there's no real nutritional value to them and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we're huge supporters of the Snyderverse here, and we say restore it. What's next in Top Jedi?
Next up, there's a lot of news for Resident Evil fans coming up. Welcome to Raccoon City, which was slated to release in theaters on September 3rd, moved over to November 24th. This film is going to focus more on how the outbreak happened in Raccoon City. Netflix also has a series in the works. We don't have a release date yet, but it's going to be 8 one-hour episodes. There's going to be 2 timelines that are taking place. So the first one will be about the Wesker sisters and how their father has a deep, dark secret that's basically going to ruin humanity. And then the second part of the series is going to focus on Jane Wesker and how she's an adult and trying to survive the outbreak with the T virus.
So it's gonna go and so it's gonna get into the backstory of the little girl that was from the original Resident Evil movie. Y'all gonna die down here. That one. Oh my God, it's gonna be amazing. You know what? Actually, I'm more excited about this Welcome to Raccoon City because obviously it is tying in with the original game. I love that actress. From Crawl. Crawl was one of my favorite horror films of 2019 when it came out. Such a surprise, from Alexandre Aja and Sam Raimi, producing, because I'm not a huge animal attack movie guy, but that one, no pun intended, caught me, and she's gonna be awesome as Claire Redfield. But yeah, what are your feelings on it? Are you excited about this one? Because I don't know if you're in the same camp as me, but I respect what Mila, did with those movies, and she made them huge hits. But a lot of them got pretty convoluted over time. But there's no denying the iconography that she created with that character, Alice. There's no denying that whatsoever. And I do respect and honor that for sure.
I respect Anderson's take on it, but I'm more excited for the series and the new reboot coming out because it is going to be more based on the video games, and we are going to see a lot of the original characters that we played in the original games. So
yeah, and we'll probably see some zombies, like actual zombie hordes, which is great. Because it's gonna be zombie hordes taking over Raccoon City. That was the whole point of the game. Aside from the liquors and the Wesker stuff and all that, that's what that game was. It was a zombie survival horror game. And if they're gonna go back to basics, hey, I'm all for that. I'm excited for it. And in other Top Jedi news, for Supernatural fans, it was just announced that Jensen Ackles is gonna be playing Batman, the voice of Batman in The Long Halloween. And if you guys aren't familiar with The Long Halloween, it's probably one of the greatest DC stories ever produced. Deals with the seasons, in Gotham, and it's a very great, detective and murder story. And Batman gets to really flex his muscles as the world's greatest detective. Where all these rogue villains come into play. Really, really awesome story. And I think Jensen's a great choice. I think he did. He did the. Of course, he did the voice of Red Hood, Jason Todd, in the DC animated realm. But I'm excited to see him, play Batman. And I honestly, I have not seen maybe 3 episodes of Supernatural. I dig it. I dug what I saw. I just have a thing about sitting there watching 17 seasons of a TV show.
Yeah, it's very long.
Oh my God. It was on for 15 years. It's absolutely insane. The late Naya Rivera is going to be playing Catwoman, the voice of Catwoman. It'll be her last role. Obviously she passed away in a pontoon accident, and just like a superhero, saved her 4-year-old son before she got swept into the tide and sadly passed. But fans of her and Glee, I think you're a fan of her, right, Di?
Very much, yes.
Yeah,
very talented actress.
Yeah, she's going to be a great voice for Selena Kyle, I think, for sure. What else is going on in Top Jedi news? We got some Star Wars news. We're Pop Jedi, so
So the Bad Batch trailer just dropped. If you guys aren't aware, the series will be running on May 4th. So we got a first look at the 5 enhanced clones and their fighting abilities and things like that. Very reminiscent of the original Star Wars film. So I'm very excited.
So if you guys aren't familiar, this is actually kind of an offshoot of the Clone Wars. And, so, if you guys are, part of, if you're fans of the Filoniverse, Dave Filoni had so much to do with this. And, just through, just like, the other animated, productions that he was a part of, he really learned a lot, from his Jedi master, George Lucas. And, like you could tell, especially with the show that'll continue. I think it's really cool. It's kind of like a Dirty Dozen for Star Wars.
Yeah.
They got these weird names like Ratchet and Tick and, like Clutch and, whatever. And, obviously they're the Bad Batch. So that, they don't look like your typical clone. And, they seem kind of punk rock, against the Empire. Like, yeah, we're not going to do that, and it seems to me that they're running away from having to be part of Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like to me. But, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what you think about this, but it seems like, the wonderful Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand is going to be a huge part of this animation too. When it comes to like, helping them out with their exploits and, maybe kind of being their Sherpa, throughout the galaxy that they're not really familiar with or whatever. That's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And like what we mentioned in our previous episodes, she's very passionate about her role in the Star Wars universe. So it'll be great to see what she brings to the table with this series because she was already amazing in Mandalorian. So,
Yep, it's only leading to her own show. I guarantee it's going to happen. But she'll also be part of the Book of Boba Fett. She's a huge part of the Star Wars universe now.
The Suicide Squad trailer dropped last Saturday, and then we got a second trailer yesterday. So I don't know how you, well, I know how you feel about Suicide Squad. We're both very passionate about Suicide Squad. So yes, I'm very excited to see what we do with the new characters. We got to see Polka Dot Man, Bloodsport, Shark King, who's going to be played by Sylvester Stallone, who is iconic. John Cena, I love him. I think that he's going to be the perfect peacemaker. I loved how he talked about how he wants peace, but he doesn't care if he has to kill people in the process. So
yeah, he says, I love freedom. And he goes, I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to do to get it. Which is like,
just like, you're going to be so cold.
Like, people are freaking out about John Walker, on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But dude, like, if you really want a douchey Captain America, like, this Peacemaker is like absolutely 100% it. Totally the opposite of everything that Steve Rogers was.
Yes. And of course, Harley Quinn is back and she has a new look and she looks amazing. I loved how they kind of played on the damsel in distress, but Harley Quinn's an independent woman now and she doesn't need anybody. So I just love seeing her character development every time they bring her into a new film.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest things that I saw from the first trailer that dropped last Saturday. They showed it, obviously they kind of showed a shot, from, behind Harley. And, that tattoo originally used to say property of Joker. And now it says property of no one, which is awesome. It's really, really awesome that she's constantly coming into her own and, becoming the character that we know that she can be, the puppet that cuts her strings and, gets to live without a master and stuff. That's really cool. The posters say don't get too attached and stuff. And honestly, this is my honest opinion. I think that the people that you think are really corny, like Polka Dot Man and stuff, they're going to be the ones that actually surprise people and they're going to live through the entire movie. You know what I mean? So that's going to be really cool. So let's get into our main topic for the night. Of course, we mentioned Adam Wingard, during our Top Jedi segment, but Godzilla versus Kong is a massive hit for him and Warner Brothers, and it made like 19 million, not to mention the 122 million internationally not too long ago. I mean, this is the movie that is saving the industry, I think, for the most part, and I'm so happy to see that, obviously, people are getting vaccines and all that stuff. And of course, that makes me really happy too. But, it's nice to see people being able to go back and kind of live their lives normally the way they would before, this nightmare happened. And people are going to the theater again, and in droves. And it's awesome to hear, to hear that, because I haven't been to the theater yet. I don't know what it's like, but I know that a lot of people are actually starting to attend movies again. I don't know. I guess the first question would be, what's your history with Godzilla and King Kong? Like, were you a monster kid, like a giant monster kid when you were growing up, or um, what's the deal?
Growing up, I was a big sci-fi horror fan. I didn't really watch a lot of the cutesy films that a lot of girls I knew watched. I was more into sci-fi or the Sci-Fi Channel, Tales from the Crypt, gruesome things like that. But I did love how they matched up Godzilla and King Kong because they are such iconic characters. Godzilla came out in 1954. King Kong's been around since 1933. It's just a perfect matchup.
Yeah.
To me, I think that this was as iconic as Alien versus Predator or Freddy versus Jason. So,
I definitely agree. And for people that aren't familiar with any of us, honestly, because we don't really mention too much. We're a new show, so you get what we give you. I've been working in horror for almost 12 years, and I've been a horror fan since I was 6 years old. So yes, 100%, I was a monster kid when I was growing up. Giant monster fan as well. So Godzilla and like King Kong and stuff like that. When my dad would show me those kind of movies, like they absolutely blew my mind
mm-hmm.
when I was a kid. And then you grow up and you kind of understand like the parallels and stuff, and that makes it more, more fascinating. You know what I mean? The fact that, um, you know, like Godzilla is, the product of, the fear of nuclear war, of course,
Mm-hmm.
after, the nuclear bomb in Hiroshima. And, the original movie is very terrifying, and it works on so many levels, and on an emotional level too, because, that is Godzilla at his peak, symbolism, when it comes to death and destruction, like
Yeah.
nothing, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about that Raymond Burr stuff, where they brought Raymond Burr in, and made
Mm-hmm.
Americanized it and stuff. If you watch the original 1954 cut of Godzilla, or Gojira, as it is aptly called, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
King Kong, the same thing. I I hate to be the one to bring it up, but like King Kong is, technically, especially when RKO was, putting the film out, back in the, back in the era, that kind of is a product of racism in a way,
Yeah.
because RKO Pictures actually saw a film. That was called Ingagi, which was a faux documentary, and we don't need to get into details. It was really awful, and they decided, this film that involved, like, an island full of ape men, would be, like a great product for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not saying everybody on the cast of King Kong was racist. I'm not saying, the special effects masters and stuff were, but it does come from racism. And, to a lot of people, just in symbolism, like Kong is kind of like, reminiscent of a black man, from an island, somebody that, white women should be afraid of, and, gets shackled and, taken to the colonies and stuff. There's a lot of parallels there, but it's interesting to
Yeah.
see these two characters, like, evolve, and become something more, and become something different, something, legendary, as opposed to, just, ideas that were, like, far behind, where humanity should be, I guess. And here we are now, Godzilla versus Kong. And I don't know, what did you think of it, first of all? What was your experience?
Well, it kind of felt like the writers were trying to pit us more to be more on King Kong's side
Yeah.
than Godzilla because
Mhm.
they showed King Kong with more emotions and more human intelligence, and Godzilla is just a cold blood killer. He doesn't care about anybody. And having the little girl communicate through with him through sign language, and then having Kong be able to understand her, I think that that shows us a more sympathetic side of Kong, I guess,
Yeah,
that we wouldn't get with Godzilla.
definitely.
But I don't know. I just like seeing.
I think the whole thing with Kong, or with Godzilla, being as, as deadly and destructive as he was, is
Yeah.
that, like, there was threats in his way, and he,
Yeah.
he knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think Millie Bobby Brown's character even says, like, he was asleep, like, why would you do this? Like, he was fine with us. Like, he was totally
Yeah.
fine with us. So obviously that threat of, just, I don't know. That's the one thing about it, was so like everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
like is he like, Kong is obviously a threat because they have this like familial war,
Yeah.
that has been
It
going
goes
on,
back.
raging for years, with their ancestors and whatnot. And then it had to do with like the threat of Hollow Earth, and like the power of Hollow Earth. And then he was like upset about Mecha Godzilla. Like, there's so many different things like that were packed into this movie that you really didn't quite get the gist of why Godzilla was the way he was. But
Right.
I think you're right, where Kong is just like, oh, he's just automatically sympathetic. Like, there's no issues with him, you know. One of the main things that people talk about when it comes to these films, is the, characterizations, or the human characters. Did you find them interesting at all? Listen, I'm going to say this right now. That young actress, is, like, who is hearing impaired in real life, she's going to have a hell of a career, because, this is her first film, and she comes out swinging the way she did.
Mm-hmm.
And, was definitely the heart of the movie, her relationship with Kong. Um, she was just brilliant, and probably one of my favorite human characters out of all of them. And
Oh, for
honestly, I
sure.
would say quite a few of them were kind of wooden. You can tell, a few were kind of like, like, oh, we're just here doing a job, which is fine. That's what actors do. But it seemed like a couple people were kind of not bringing their A game to me. You know what I mean?
It did, yeah.
Um, but that's the thing though. This movie was exactly what it promised to be. It was
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Kong. So when I
Yeah.
saw people like fighting about it on the internet, like this movie sucks or whatever, like, are you expecting an Academy Award winning script for this movie? Because that's not what it was, like, at all. Like, it's not supposed to be that. It's a giant monster punching a giant gorilla is what it is, and that's it. Like,
Yes, like what we were talking about before the show. It was about Kong, and it was about Godzilla fighting in cities, taking out buildings, crushing people like ants. I
mhm.
don't know what else people were expecting from that. And they did it perfectly.
If you guys haven't seen Godzilla versus Kong, it's a lot of fun. Um, to be quite honest with you, though, I think I don't know. Zack Snyder's Justice League felt more like a religious experience to me.
Yeah.
Just in the fact of I was waiting for it for so long, just like we all were. And, the fact that we actually have it, and, it's as beautifully done as it is. I think I was more enthralled for that 4 hours, where that really just had me on my seat, just from the majesty of it all.
Mm-hmm.
This one had me, grinning the entire time from ear to ear. It was just fun to watch. It was awesome. It was
It was a
awesome.
good popcorn movie. Like, it's
Yeah.
not going to get an Oscar, but if
Well,
you want a fun action
maybe.
movie to watch on a Friday, Saturday night,
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a winner.
yeah.
So that's our show for this week. Please join us next time when, of course, Sith will be back with us. But I do want to mention this one thing before we go. We did not mention Falcon and the Winter Soldier, simply because we kind of want to mix it up when it comes to our conversation. We don't want to like follow a show. When we get to around episode 10, we're going to start talking about doing watch-alongs and things of that nature. So we will be doing things like that, where we will be following shows and whatnot together. So that's going to be really exciting. But when it comes to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I do want to mention one thing that's very, very important. John Walker, the new Captain America, is a fictional character, as Ben Affleck would say. And first of all, how dare you? He's Hollywood royalty, for Christ's sake. He's Kurt Russell's son. And just separate the fictional mantle from the man is all I'm saying. Don't hate an actor for a part that they played. Don't feel like just because like it, honestly, if they have so much hatred for them in terms of their interpretation, then they're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. That's what this is. It's a character. And don't drive this guy out of Hollywood just because you don't like his portrayal of a certain comic book character. Please, let's not do this. Let's be better.
Do
Like,
better.
really. Yeah, really be better. He's a hell of an actor. He's doing a wonderful job on Falcon the Winter Soldier. I can't wait to see what he does next. And I know he understands that there was going to be hatred with this character, but it's getting out of hand. So, just be better. That's be the best fan that you can be.
We're only a few episodes in.
Just be the best fan that you can be. And, that's it for us. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We'll be back next week with more Pop Jedi news. Have a good night. Talk to you soon. And rest in peace, Cleve Hall. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.